Hi everyone, I'm joined with a few of our product managers today to talk about the industry, how our products here at Noregon fit into that industry. Before we jump in, I'm Sam Borboom, Product Marketing Manager here, and these three guys are great colleagues, great mentors. Usually we stand up at the Cubes and chat throughout the day, so this will be kind of a podcast discussion like we have at the Cubes. But before we jump in, just want to highlight their experience here. First at Noregon, 64 years collectively with these three guys. And in the industry, almost 100 years of industry expertise, 98 to be exact.
Just me alone.
Yeah. So with that being said, let's jump right into our first topic. Starting with the foundation of Noregon, which is diagnostics, and looking at the industry with diagnostics, where are we at with emissions? Where are we at and what's coming up?
So the emissions part of it is near and dear to me because I'm the diagnostic tool manager. I'm J-Pro product manager. Emissions has kind of stabilized early on when we first introduced 7, then 10, then 13 GHG engines. 7 was new to everybody, and 10 kind of added to the 7 and the complexity, and it really confused technicians and everybody out there. And 13 kind of stabilized stuff, right? The 13 has not changed a whole lot. The way it works, the 13 emissions engines haven't. We're at 24 right now. We're going to go to 27, and the basis of how the science experiment is what I like to call it, that's rolling down the road, hasn't changed a whole lot. Now with 27, they're going to add dual SCRs, which doesn't change how it works. It's just going to add another SCR system to the already existing SCR system.
Yeah, modifying some changes in the after treatment.
Okay, and so for people out there that don't know what SCR is, how would you explain the SCR?
It's actually, in California, the SCR part is what's actually cleaning up the air, right? So the selective catalyst reduction is where you introduce urea into the emissions or the catalyst, and the reaction that happens turns basically into...
It turns NOx into nitrogen and oxygen, so it doesn't create smog. NOx is the progenitor of smog.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I remember, Lee, you sent me a YouTube video when I first started on the team of a truck rolling down the highway and it had flames shooting out of the exhaust. Yeah. Is that related to NOx and issues truckers could face?
No, that's just more fun stuff. Typically, you don't want flame shooting out of your exhaust.
That's a bad science experiment.
That's bad science experiment.
It's not like drag racing, yeah.
Okay.
But an interesting note about the dual SCR, Cummins just announced this morning that they ain't releasing it. They are at this point not planning to release the EPA 27 or the GHG 27 until they get some clarification from the market.
Well, that goes back to something Zach was talking about the other day, right?
Yeah, the EPA said, the head of the EPA came out and said just recently that they are doing away with all GHG emissions restrictions, and it will go to a 2008 emissions level.
So we're rolling back to 08 emissions levels.
That's the projection, yeah.
How does that impact technicians and fleet managers? Does it take away complexity with their operations or how they diagnose and repair? Or
likely it'll drastically affect it.
In a good way.
In a good way.
Yeah,
it'd be less parts, less things to break. Less fuel consumption, lots of savings on the cost of the vehicle. Parts that are currently required will no longer be required. But if California, needs or sticks to the guns and wants to continue keeping the current regulation, then you'll have like 2 different versions of a truck. You'll have a California-based truck, and you'll have a 49 other state truck.
Right. So let's shift over to a little bit of the CARB. You're alluding to CARB's clean truck check.
Right.
Any new updates in that realm? It sounds like if we roll back to 08 and California continues to roll forward with some of their emissions, how is that going to impact our technicians and again, fleet managers out there?
I think you're going to separate the trucks. Trucks will stay in California, and then the other trucks will just, pick up the freight and then transport it. So you're going to have,
For some, it's going to make it more complex. And for some, it's going to make it much easier, right? For trucks that don't travel to California, they're not going to have to worry about those regulations and making sure their trucks are compliant. For the ones that do go into California, they're going to have to abide by 2 regulations, right? They're going to have their trucks that don't travel to California, they're going to have their trucks that do, right? And, Zach kind of was alluding to, there may be situations where they just take the truck to the border of California and somebody transports the stuff from that border state into the actual state of California.
Yep.
So it'll make things a little bit difficult in some ways, but for the country at large, it's going to make things easier, right? What's going to affect the truck checkup right now is, and it's going to affect the entire industry, is the introduction of the new architecture that's coming out on trucks, right? So there's a new architecture that's coming from Europe. And it's already out there in the field on trucks right now.
This is and there's 1979-2.
Correct, right. That's what's going to change some stuff. That is the 1979-2 is, basically emissions only, and it's diagnostics only, right? Sure. It has nothing to do with programming. It has nothing to do with any of that. It's just reading the diagnostic information, trouble codes, and data that pertain to the emission stuff.
It's just an updated version of what cars are running today. It's just a newer version. It's got more functionality. It's got more features to it. But the problem was CARB was expecting this wasn't going to show up until 27. And then it showed up in late 24. And they threw a monkey wrench. So CARB had to basically say, look, anybody that's using this gets a free pass. So all the Volvo products right now that are new and using that protocol, they get a free pass. The new VNL, the new VNR, the new Anthem, the refreshed Anthem, and the new Pioneer. We see people try to inspect them, and they get back a result saying test result could not be determined. So right now we're waiting on CARB. We actually know exactly what to do with it, but the problem is CARB has to certify what we're doing. Because it is a certified solution. That's why there's so few people who provide this solution, because California has to go, yes, we checked it, you ran it against 100 trucks of each type, and you're golden.
So besides emissions in J1979-2, are there any other trends or things in the industry that are going to be impacting diagnostics?
So we kind of talked a little bit about it, right? The emission stuff that's on the trucks that's the big challenge from a diagnostic and repair perspective, right? It's kind of stabilized. It's going to get simpler, is what it sounds like.
Right.
The new thing that's coming and has been coming is the safety systems, ADAS on these trucks, right? As these things get introduced, the technicians got to get trained and up to speed on them, understand how to fix them. You got to have tools to fix them. I mean, when I first started with the company, ABS was a thing, right? That's all you had on a truck. You didn't have ADAS. And then, 10 years ago, they started introducing actual ADAS systems, safety systems on trucks.
Blind spot monitoring and such,
Yep.
yeah.
Right.
And the ADAS systems are going to have the exact same effect that the emission systems have on a truck as far as the driver or the technician is concerned. The systems are designed to interact with each other, right? So the engine, the transmission, the brakes, everything all works together, and if any portion of the ADS or any one of those ECUs goes offline and has a problem, it's going to derate the system. So the end result to the user is going to appear to be the same thing. I've got a broken truck, right? That this is all going to feed. This is feeding the autonomous trucks, right? Or semi-autonomous.
Right.
The whole point is if you're running an autonomous truck or even a semi-autonomous truck, that system's going to go into a fail-safe mode and pull you over to the side of the road and prevent you from driving because it's not safe. And what is that really kind of doing? And we kind of talk about it a little bit. This is, the safety related stuff is all about kind of saving money and being safe too, right?
Making it easier for the driver, though, too.
Correct,
right?
correct.
Yeah,
correct. It's a combination of things, right? But this is one of those things where trucks were not spec'd that way back when you and I were, well, you were on the floor for a while when that stuff was being spec'd. When I was on the floor, it wasn't spec'd, right? It is now part of the truck. You can't get one without it now, where 10 years ago you could order it with or without. So there's going to be some, just like with the emission system, there's a large learning curve.
Yeah, and the tooling too. I mean, you have to have special tooling to calibrate the sensors and such.
Yeah, well, you can't replace a window,
right?
Without recalibrating the camera and the forward-looking radar. It has to happen every single time, right? And technicians are having to get used to that, and they got to get the tools to do it, right? Get educated.
Yeah, more complex systems. Yeah.
Well, and ADAS went from nothing on the truck in terms of what we see diagnostically to now it's the second most common fault that we see on a truck. So, and we actually had one of our customers come to us and say, look, we're having problems because our drivers are forgetting that the adaptive cruise control is broken. And they don't realize that they're on regular cruise control and it ain't gonna break for them. And they were saying that they were having some rear-end collisions due to that cause. Now, we gave them what data we had about what trucks had faults at what period of time, but it's a real thing. I mean, most people don't realize that your car still has, even if you have adaptive cruise control, it still has basic cruise control, but you can't forget that you're in that mode because it ain't gonna stop for you anymore.
Yeah, there's a learning curve just on that part of it itself, yep.
Yeah, there's training at the responsibility of these fleets and vehicle owners. Yeah. So it sounds like, I keep thinking back to the fleet managers, it's gonna make managing your fleet a little bit more difficult in some ways, maybe easy in some ways too. Let's talk a little bit about the shop. Shifting from fleet management to shop management, where are we at with the challenges shops are facing today? What's most common for them, and what can they do to improve their experience managing the shop?
I think the biggest challenges they're facing now is efficiency, parts, communication, and just the work order management flow. The technician is going to review the repair, the complaint of the driver or the customer, and then he's going to, do an inspection, perform a repair and find other parts that may need to be received or used on the truck. And it's just that whole process. And then just communicating back to the customer, hey, we found additional things. Your estimate's changed now. I brought it to you for this, and now you're telling me I need this. There's a lot of that.
A lot of back and forth.
Oh yeah, it goes on all the time.
A lot of moving parts.
Yes,
Pun
moving
intended.
part. Yeah, for sure.
You said efficiency first. So some of the shops you visited around here locally, and I know a couple of you actually worked in shops.
Yeah, Zach and I both were service writers at some point, right? So we understand that workflow process. Right?
Yeah, and managing technicians, you're managing 10, 15 guys in a shop. It gets chaotic.
Goes beyond diagnostics, and it's a lot more administrative pieces, the marketing side of it, how you put your shop out there, whether it's Facebook or you have a website. There's a lot of components to it. So what are shops doing now that they weren't doing 10, 20 years ago? Well,
diagnostically speaking, the capabilities have become a little more seamless and more efficient with our offering, right? So they kind of were segregated and separated. And right now we've built an application, actually 2 applications, with JPro was already there. Now we have ShopPulse. With JPro, you can feed ShopPulse the information from the truck, right? Yeah. So it pulls the data directly off of the truck, and it feeds all the fault codes and information and the VIN information, which, for the technician is a place where they can make mistakes, right? So you're going to be more efficient because you're not making mistakes. You don't get the wrong vehicle identified. You don't get the wrong components identified. Yeah. You don't get the wrong faults identified. And that all goes straight into the work order system. And when it comes to, communicating with the customer, that work order is a direct conduit to the customer, and it's coming directly from the diagnostic application.
Well, and if you're going to turn in warranty, it starts that paper trail of here's the problem, here's the component, here's the serial number of the component, because those are all pieces of information you're going to need to file a warranty claim.
Yeah, some of the shops I've been to, they have sticky notes and sheets of paper on clipboards, and that's not the type of paper trail that is really going to see.
We were writing it on our hands, and they still are, right? I write the part number and go find it, or I write the information down. And if I'm a small shop, this is one of the key things for this ShopPulse. It's aimed at the smaller shops, and literally a guy might look at his hand and go, "You owe me $460 based on what's written on his hand," and I think I spent 8 hours on it or whatever. This is going to allow them to track that information faster and more effectively and more accurately.
Right. For the shops that are hesitant to automate some of these things and use like an electronic system like ShopPulse versus the pen and paper, what would you say to them to get them through that kind of hesitant feeling they have about shifting?
Yeah, it's a process change. It's a mindset change. You got to commit to it. So, and your efficiency will go up. I mean, at first it will take some time to get everybody trained on board. This is how we're going to do things. But once you're rolling with it, your errors from the VIN was wrote down wrong, the serial number for the part was wrong, the back and forth with your parts guy trying to get the right part, all those things will go down drastically. Having a diagnostic connection submitted into the application, and it will really help. And then your communication to the customer. I can send a quick text message. I can send the document, the estimate, as a PDF. They can consume it.
And it can still be personalized too. I think with some of these small shop owners, they like that contact with the customer and that relationship. So they won't lose that with a system like this. It'll just build upon that.
It might be better, absolutely, because it's even quicker and faster, right? You don't have to wait on the phone call. You can monitor the entire thing without all that.
These shops are multitasking. Your service writer, your service advisor, they're multitasking like crazy. And then so there's 5 or 6 repairs going on, and then communicating to those customers, and then the communication the technician has, I need this, I need this added, well, I got to call the guy and let him know I got to add this here. It's going to be another $500. That will be a lot, easier for the shop.
It just speeds it up.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. More efficient. You can get more trucks in and out. Your shop makes more money.
Yeah, I'm not trying to call the guy to get an answer from him. Yep.
So for our viewers and listeners out there who don't yet know what ShopPulse is, can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, ShopPulse is our in-house built shop management system. So it will take and work congruently with JPro, our diagnostic.
In conjunction with.
In conjunction, with the diagnostic connection. And then the small independent garage can do your work order flow, order parts, track your inventory, invoice your customer, communicate with your customer. I believe we're the only supplier that does the diagnostics and the shop management software together.
Yeah, so it ties in everything we just said about automating that process in the shop for more efficiency, and then all the diagnostics of JPro ties it all in.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're leveraging our expertise in these areas to augment the tools for the actual people that use them with our expertise, right? We're diagnostic experts. We've been in the business for a long time, and lots of these companies out there have no clue about the diagnostic portion of it.
I mean, I always talk about closing the circle of, we have Trip Vision, which monitors the truck when it's operating. We have JPro when the truck gets sick. We have fault guidance and next step repair to fix the truck once you've diagnosed it. And now we have ShopPulse that manages that whole segment from intake to when the truck gets back on the road. So we've got the whole circle of operation covered now with JPro and other Noregon products.
Yeah, what are some of the benefits of a customer sticking with a company that has expertise in diagnostics and shop management?
Well, you don't have to integrate somebody else's product into that structure, or you don't have to coordinate. We're already doing that. We already know the things that you want to see on a work order. We're sending that data from JPro. We've been doing it for years for others.
Yeah, trusted partner for customers.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So to close out, can each of you tell me one thing shop owners or fleet managers can start doing today that will improve their operations?
I think interview their technicians.
Interview their technicians.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I'd say, well, a lot of morale is a big thing in the shop. You know, how hard the shop is pushing their technicians. I don't know, just kind of level setting with their technicians.
What do you hope that the shop owner or fleet manager will find out when they interview their technicians? Because I know there's an industry shortage of techs. I imagine they'll hear,
For sure.
you know, we need help.
We need help, we need better tooling. Yeah, this is not working that well. I mean, there's a number of things, I'm sure.
Okay.
So you said tooling, right? So
Yeah,
I'm going to say it's a two-part answer. So number one is get them the tooling, right? And when they say tools, we're not just talking about wrenches. Everybody needs wrenches to do their job, and that was an absolute thing in the past. It is not the same world anymore. You have to have diagnostic tooling. And most shops just buy one. Well, to improve efficiency, you're going to have more than one, because it's not something you have a choice of. You have to hook diagnostically to every truck, and you're going to have to do something electronically every time a truck comes into your shop. So there's number one, right? Equip them with tooling, right? And number two is prepare for holistic diagnostics, right? And when I say holistic diagnostics, I'm talking about choose applications that can view the entire truck, right? It's most of the OEs, most of the applications that are out there can only look at one component at a time. And not to toot our own horn, but JPro is the only one that is capable of connecting and keeping a live stream of data to all of the ECUs all at the same time across multiple data points, right? There is a lot of data on these trucks. And so you want to choose something like that and equip your technicians and prepare them for holistic diagnostics, because it's not a matter of choice anymore. You have to do it that way, or you're not going to have a healthy fleet.
It's either that or YouTube, right? These technicians are going straight to Google or YouTube to figure out. And it's like WebMD if you're looking to diagnose something, but JPro gives you that, like you said, holistic approach where you can see everything that needs to be fixed.
And one of the things we've just recently started was an initiative to try and do a better job of telling the technician, you don't need to run a regen every single time you see the truck. There's a lot of fuel wasted because of the fact that they're doing a regen when the truck's nowhere near the end of its particulate filter life. But it's kind of a habit they got into the early days, because in the early days, a lot of things were solved by just doing a regen. And I think it's just become kind of a habit, and it's kind of a wasteful habit. I mean, literally thousands and thousands of gallons of fuel every month, just going out the tailpipe for no real benefit.
It's not just fuel, it's time, right?
Yeah,
because these things some of these takes time, and sometimes you just hitting the regen for no reason, and you don't understand it. You also need tools that kind of tell you, and rules that kind of tell you not to do that, right? A lot of fleets are mandating that every time a diagnostic application touches their truck, they have to run a regen. And that's just not true, right? You want to know when that's necessary.
And having a tool like JPro will let you know when it is necessary.
If you'll listen to what the tool's telling you, it absolutely will tell you not to run a regen. It'll tell you you're in zone 01. And that is the zone where you don't have to. And if you're in the next zone 2, it'll kind of say, well, if you're getting ready to drive the truck at highway speeds on the highway, it's going to do a passive regeneration. And I think that, most of the technicians out there understand that. And if you explain it to them in the right way, they're going to get, well, okay, this truck is getting ready to leave the shop and he's headed to Indiana, right? He's going to run a passive regen. So,
It sounds like we're at a really important time in the industry where technicians and shops and fleets are going from, again, I'll bring it back to emissions where we started, this EPA 07, and now we're in a place where things are more automated, things are more electronic, and so it's important to partner with companies like Noregon or have JPro, have a shop management system, to have trip vision so you can really keep track of your vehicles and their health at all times. It's a really cool time in the industry, so really appreciate your guys' time, and we'll see you back up at the Cubes as we chat again. For all of you viewing and listening out there, thanks for joining us.